MCQs on drugs acting in heart failure. Part 2. Given below are few of the drugs indicated for heart failure. Select the drug that acts by increasing the intracellular calcium within the cardiac muscle. Options are P. Carvedilol, Q. Furosemide, R. Digoxin, and S. Verapamil. So A is the R and S, B is P and Q, and C is the P only, and D is the R only. So here we have to identify the drug which increases the intracellular calcium levels within the cardiac muscle. So here the right answer is R only. So digoxin is the drug which increases the intracellular calcium levels within the cardiac muscle. So let us see how other drugs are also working. So let us start with the carvedilol. Carvedilol is one of the drugs which blocks the alpha receptors as well as it also blocks the beta receptors. The alpha receptors are actually coupled with the IP3 and diacylglycerol, and beta receptors are coupled with the cyclic AMP. So in this way, carvedilol can inhibit the both alpha and beta receptors, thereby decrease the actions of the IP3 and diacylglycerol as well as the cyclic AMP. When these secondary messengers are inhibited, it reduces the calcium levels within the membrane. But in the question we were asked with what are the drugs which increase the intracellular calcium levels. So carvedilol is not the right answer here because it is going to act in a opposite way. It decreases the intracellular calcium levels within the vascular smooth muscle as well as the cardiac muscle. Similarly, another drug is a verapamil. Verapamil is a calcium channel blocker. It directly blocks the calcium channels, particularly on the cardiac muscle. So it reduces the calcium levels within the cardiac muscle. And third type of drug is the furosemide. Furosemide is a diuretic and it acts on the renal tubules and it inhibits one of the pump, sodium potassium 2 chloride exchange pump. So furosemide is not having any direct action on the cardiac muscle, so it is not related with any calcium levels within the cardiac muscle, but it acts on one of the pump, sodium potassium 2 chloride exchange pump within the renal tubules. And the last drug is the digoxin. Just like the furosemide, digoxin also acts on one of the pump, but this pump is present on the heart. The digoxin is going to inhibit the sodium potassium ATPase pump within the heart, thereby it inhibits the exchange of the sodium for the potassium. When this pump is inhibited, it results in the increased intracellular calcium levels, which increase the force of contraction of the heart. In this way, digoxin increases the intracellular calcium levels, thereby it acts as a cardiotonic. So digoxin is the right answer for given question. Next question. Select the drug that can cause yellowish vision in few of the treated patients. Options are A. Imidazole, B. Digoxin, C. Clofazimine, and D. Sildenafil. Here all the drugs given are not at all related to the cardiac failure, but these drugs are related with few of the side effects in which the discoloration is one of the important side effects. So among these, one of the drug which produces yellowish vision is the digoxin. Now let us see what are the discoloration side effects of the other drugs listed here. Imidazole is a class 3 antiarrhythmic agent which blocks the potassium channels, and this drug can produce some gray to blue discoloration of the skin. And actually imidazole is having an iodine moiety in the structure which may be responsible for the gray to blue discoloration of the skin. Similarly, another drug is the digoxin. Digoxin can produce one of the condition xanthopsia. Xanthopsia is a yellowish vision in the patients. Digoxin is a cardiac glycoside and it is related with some of the yellow vision in the patients. So digoxin is the right answer for the given question. And third drug given in the options is the clofazimine. Clofazimine is an anti-leproral agent particularly used in the treatment of the leprosy. And chemically it is a dye, so it can produce some red to pink discoloration of the skin. And finally, sildenafil. Sildenafil is one of the drugs used in the treatment of erectile dysfunction as well as pulmonary hypertension. This drug can produce one of the condition synopsia. Synopsia is a condition where the patient can observe bluish vision. Particularly when the sildenafil is used, the patient cannot discriminate the green and blue color. This condition is called synopsia. So in this way, all these four types of drugs are related with some discoloration disorders, and digoxin is one of the drug which produce the xanthopsia, there is a yellowish vision in the patients. Next question. Given below are few of the drug targets, identify those which are not good drug targets for the treatment of cardiac failure. P. Aldosterone antagonists. Q. Phosphodiesterase type 3 inhibitors. R. Calcium channel blockers. And S. All beta blockers. So your options are A. Q only, B. RS, C. PQ, and D. S only. In the treatment of heart failure, we can use the different types of drugs, among which sympatholytics can be used, as well as vasodilators can be used, diuretics can be used, as well as inotropic agents can be used. Now here, the first option, aldosterone antagonists. Spironolactone is one of an aldosterone antagonist which antagonizes the aldosterone, thereby reduce the sodium reabsorption within the body. Thereby, spironolactone can be used in the treatment of heart failure. Similarly, phosphodiesterase type 3 inhibitors like the amrinone and milrinone, they can also be used in the treatment of heart failure because they increase the cyclic AMP levels within the heart. But the calcium channel blockers and all the beta blockers are not useful in the treatment of heart failure. So R and S is the right answer for this question. But why these calcium channel blockers and all the beta blockers are not indicated in the cardiac failure? Heart failure is a condition where there is a decreased cardiac output. So what are the drugs used in the heart failure? Either they should increase the cardiac output or they should decrease the cardiac work. Now if we use the calcium channel blockers, commonly called as CCBs, since they block the calcium, they decrease the force of contraction of the heart. So as the force of contraction is reduced, they decrease the cardiac output. So the calcium channel blockers are contraindicated in the treatment of heart failure. Now what about the beta blockers? All the beta blockers. So beta blockers again decrease the force of contraction. So theoretically, beta blockers again should not be used in the treatment of heart failure because they decrease the force of contraction, thereby they can reduce the cardiac output. But at the same time, beta blockers can reduce the cardiac work, thereby they can increase the cardiac efficiency. So in this point of view, the beta blockers are having some advantage in the treatment of heart failure. Based on this, all the beta blockers are not useful in the treatment of heart failure. Few of the beta blockers like the metoprolol, bisoprolol, and carvedilol can be used in the treatment of heart failure. So calcium channel blockers and all the beta blockers are not useful, but few of the beta blockers like the metoprolol, bisoprolol, and carvedilol are only used in the treatment of heart failure. Identify the beta blocker whose structure is given below. So options are A. Propranolol, B. Metoprolol, C. Carvedilol, and D. Labetalol. So here the right answer is the metoprolol. Now let us see the structure and we can identify this structure is having the propanol. This propanol is attached with the amine. So it is a propanol amine and this propanol amine is attached to the phenoxy group. And all the beta blockers are chemically related to aryl oxy propanol amines. Here we can observe the propanol side chain which is attached to the amine, and this propanol is again attached to the phenoxy. So here it is a phenoxy propanol amine. So all the beta blockers are having the aryl oxy propanol amines. They are having a common suffix olol. But these beta blockers differ based on the substitution of the group on the aromatic ring. So here phenyl group is substituted at a para position by one of the group like this. What is this group? This group is the methoxyethyl group. So here the methoxy is indicated by the prefix meto. So the structure is nothing but the metoprolol. Metoprolol is having the methoxyethyl side chain at the para position. Since it is a beta blocker, it is having the suffix olol. So that is the metoprolol. Metoprolol is a selective beta blocker which acts on the beta 1 receptors, thereby it reduces the rate and force of contraction of the heart. And metoprolol can also decrease the cardiac work, thereby it can improve the cardiac efficiency. So it can be used in the treatment of heart failure. Select the possible mechanisms of natriuretic peptides. P. Decrease in the GFR, glomerular filtration rate. Q. Release of aldosterone. R. Increase in the cyclic GMP, and S. Peripheral vasoconstriction. So here the options are A. R and S, B. P and R, C. Q and R, and D. R only. Again here the right answer is R only, that is increase in the cyclic GMP. Natriuretic peptides are the peptides which increase the natriuresis, so they are going to increase the glomerular filtration rate. So decrease in the glomerular filtration rate is not the right answer. Instead they are going to increase the GFR. Similarly, these peptides can inhibit the release of aldosterone, but they are not going to increase the release of the aldosterone. And again, these drugs can produce vasodilatation, so peripheral vasoconstriction is not the mechanism of the natriuretic peptides. Natriuretic peptides are going to stimulate the guanyl cyclase system GC, thereby they can convert the GTP into cyclic GMP. This cyclic GMP acts as a secondary messenger which produces the various cellular actions. And as the name it indicates, the natriuretic peptides are going to increase the excretion of the sodium within the kidney, so they increase the glomerular filtration rate. As the GFR increases, they produce the natriuresis, thereby they can increase the sodium excretion. At the same time, these peptides can inhibit the renin secretion. When the renin is secreted, renin-angiotensin system is activated so that it can produce the angiotensin II, and the angiotensin II can release the aldosterone. So when the renin secretion is inhibited, it inhibits the angiotensin II formation as well as it inhibits the aldosterone secretion. And when our angiotensin II is not formed, vasoconstriction is not mediated, it results in the vasodilatation. So in this way, natriuretic peptides are going to increase the sodium excretion as well as they decrease the renin secretion, thereby they decrease the angiotensin II formation as well as aldosterone secretion. All this can result in the vasodilatation. So increase in the cyclic GMP is the main mechanism of the natriuretic peptides.